Hello, I am Zinfogel. Alright, today we're checking out the Single Lysander and Volcanion, a Pokefair Water type striker. And boy, are we checking! because this guy takes Drip or Drown to the next level. His outfit is amazing, I love it. So, Single Lysander is pretty ridiculous. His numbers, dude. Like, out of any striker released thus far, Lysander's numbers get the closest to Ash. There are caveats to that statement, but I just want to paint a picture to the level of power we are dealing with here. However, our boy Lysander is a water type striker with fire type coverage. And when it comes down to those two specific types, things get muddy for a lot of people. Both typings are oversaturated and also face contention from free-to-play legendaries in Cyrus and Silver, who are excellent strikers in their own right. Hell, if you invest into 6-star EX OG Seabold, he deletes water-weak stages as efficiently as Lysander with the same regional overlap. That's a sentiment I can empathize with. The practical meta advice is that Single Lysander is a safe skip. You can cover his broader niches with accessible units. So, why even bother assessing Lysander? It's a similar situation to Single Lusamine and Single Serena. Despite Lysander's competition, currently he is by far and away the most overkill water type striker. Oh, just to make it clear, he eviscerates on-type at 1-5. If you want easy free stages, then you will have plenty of fun with Lysander. When a striker like this happens, what I tend to do is scrutinize their utility in content at large. For example, what can Lysander accomplish off-type or in Gauntlet? When assessing the Lysander, there are a couple things that immediately draw your attention. Searing Surge 5 and his body move. So, Searing Surge 5 adds a 50% multiplier to Lysander's moves and the sync move when the target is burned. Lysander's playstyle is similar to Single Serena in that he's a tech in disguise. His potential is gated behind a conditional, but when you cover for that conditional and add all of Lysander's other perks on top, his damage becomes stupid. The question then becomes, how does Lysander attain Searing Surge? Well, both of his moves have a chance of burning, which Lysander enhances with his innate hostile environment tree. With this passive, Steam Eruption always burns its target, and Heatwave jumps to a 40% chance to burn. It should be 20% when spread, and it's a separate check per target. Regardless, we have the former for consistency. One of Lysander's selling points is that Burn lets him neutralize certain defensive passives, namely Healthy Advantage. Lysander can counter Yuxi and Cobalion while benefiting from a fat multiplier. Searing Surge does open a unique issue for Lysander where he becomes dependent on Burn, yet certain stages block status. Namely, Entei has Flameproof, but the whole fight has a water weakness, so Lysander breaks it anyway. It's just something to keep in mind for stages like Rayrok or Cobalion who can build a Flameproof over time. Fortunately, Lysander can handle Searing Surge all by himself, but his more aggressive champion stadium rotations want help activating the multiplier. Steam Eruption takes 3 turns to burn all foes, so you could have another pair preemptively spread burn to optimize Lysander's damage. And burn meta has been waiting for a catalyst like this. Lysander is very self-sufficient, so he can afford a dedicated burner in addition to a weather setter for both of his coverage options. For example, if you want a cheap water-weak lineup, consider Hostile Environment for Marley plus Winona. Or for Fire Week, you could run a Sacred Fire Silver with Blaine or Skyla, depending on how aggressive you want to be. Lysander thrives in such structures because he doesn't have to wait for a Steam Eruption to activate the Searing Surge 5. However, depending on team composition, Lysander sometimes has to settle with a Burning Center. Dual Frogs suffers from that. If Lysander fails the Heatwave Scorching Touch for proc, he then has to settle with a Steam Eruption Burn on center. The Frogs' Master Passives mitigate the missing damage, but that issue is far more pronounced on lesser versions of Lysander Dual Strike. Now, Searing Surge is but a mere preamble to maximizing the potential of Lysander's body move. We've got a B Hydro Pump. It unlocks when at least one enemy is burned, so yes, Lysander is forced to play for Searing Surge no matter what. B Hydro Pump costs 3 bars, it has 1 use, but 300 base power. This is a sync move, dude. Company needs you to find the difference between this picture and this picture. They are the same picture. Lysander functionally has 2 sync moves. However, B Hydro Pump is a move, and because it's a move, it's affected by a wider array of multipliers. You can give it a special move next stacks with Sinsu Chris or Champion Kalem. You can boost it with Lysander's Grid PP like Burn Synergy 1, Rain 2, and Furious Brain on top of Searing Surge 5. It's a pretty good deal. But then you start reading the Yu-Gi-Oh! Tier description. First of all, B Hydro Pump has an extend range effect, where it damages all enemies without incurring the AoE damage penalty. This is why Lysander prefers it when all enemies are burned at once. He wants the fattest Searing Surge for all of B Hydro Pump's targets. And after B Hydro Pump deletes the enemy field, it adds a plethora of PP stacks for Lysander's next move. It adds free move next, super effective up next, and a special move next stacks equal to each burned enemy on the field. This is insanity. Champion Stadium is not equipped to handle this output, not even with Wise Entry ×2. B Hydro Pump plays a huge role in Lysander's oppressive output. It's an enhanceable bomb that can even delete off-type when appropriately supported. Oh, and we're not done! I have only touched on 2 aspects of Lysander's kit thus far. Lysander's stat spread is fine, his bulk is average, but his terrain move doesn't have any penalties. Speaking of, Lysander's terrain move is simple, but it gets the job done for fast Champion Stadium clears. It raises +3 crit, a basic necessity for any competent striker. It adds +1 accuracy, enough to fix Steam Eruption and Heatwave, and it also adds free move next. Something neat about Lysander is that his terrain move and B Hydro Pump rotations add freebies, which makes Dual Strike infinitely easier to accomplish. Like, Dual Frogs would fail miserably without Lysander's freebies. Champion Kalem and Champion Serena have to occupy gauges to unlock their body moves. But since Lysander doesn't have to consume gauges at the start of a fight, he could even consider Heatwave to tick down the 10 hits sooner. Thus, Lysander rounds up his buffing kit with a Grand Entry 4. +4 special attack is enough to fuel a striker, so it's not like you have to constrain Lysander's lineup to topping off +2 special attack, although it would be nice. Entry passives are interesting because they grant a buff without having to take an action. For example, Lysander could use spam Steam Eruption as early as turn 1, provided a support fills in the gaps. By the way, Lysander's 3-5 grid has a train move ramp up too, which translates to a perfect buffing kit. Overall, Signature Lysander meets the pedigree of a top tier striker. Optimally, his DPS is only beaten by Emma and Power Reserve's 5 Ash. But if you account for his PP stacks or a water rebuff, he has better burst damage than both. Lysander's full nuke is also very respectable despite overlapping with Big Hydro Pump's spread damage. I think Lysander would rank better as a tech, because you would have a Big Hydro Pump to delete sides and then a stronger center finish, but whatever, people are upset about the overflow of techs lately. If I have to be nitpicky. I would say Lysander is more support intensive than his contemporaries. Like, 1-5 Sinasud Steven can resort to general pool gachas to easily off-type 2K Master Mode, where 1-5 Lysander wants Whaley units. 1-5 Lysander can off-type with Skyla and Winona in a slower setting, but efficient clears want Sinasud Chris, OG Leon, or Fall Morty, who are relatively niche. Off-type Lysander wants to capitalize from a stacked big Hydro Pump to lead stages, but you can mitigate such dependencies by raising Lysander past 1-5. Outside of the coverage, most of Lysander's criticisms are very nitpicky. He's a little lacking in quality of life amenities. For example, Lysander's kit is devoid of recovery. He has no ramping tools, he cannot sure crit his sync. Those are things that make strikers like Sinasud Serena very consistent, which kinda matters in high level gameplay. But the fact of the matter is that Lysander excels at what a striker should, which is damage, self-sufficiency, and engage. As far as Lysander's ideal team compositions go, he is best played in Rain. You can make off-type Heatwave work with Sinasud Morty or Max Flare, but Rain is where it's at. I would say Lysander's best team is Dual Frogs. Any complications that may stem from activating Searing Surge 5 are mitigated by the Frogs' master passives. Kalem completes Lysander's special attack, he summons Rain, he grants PP stacks, Serena adds a water rebuff and improves gauge management. If you want to attempt 3k or 4k clears, that's a good team to approach it. Besides the Frogs, I think Sinasud Chris plus OG Leon pair really well with Lysander. Sinasud Chris works like Champion Kalem, but she doesn't have to deal with a dumb body move conditional to summon Rain, which makes Lysander's rotation much more fluid. Leon helps Lysander by burning foes, and he also benefits from Chris's special move next stacks to strengthen Inferno. Furthermore, if you stack enough head starts, Leon can enable a ramp with his trainer move. There are other burners to consider. Holiday Siebold is fine, his playstyle overlaps with Lysander and he looks well. Lysander also revived Fall Morty, but I'm gonna be that guy and say that I don't like him as a Lysander partner. Think about the compositional value. Ideally, you would run Sinasud Chris as third for the Johto Flag Bearer boost. Fall Morty is there for the instantaneous AoE burn. A Searing Surge that fast lets Lysander Denial ride turn 2 with a big Hydro Pump, which is neat. But then you are stuck with Morty's shit tier unboosted Shadow Claw. Fucking Flannery contributes more than that. Such structures put all their eggs in the Volcanion basket, but you can optimize that with a ramp. Fun fact, Fall Morty has Head Start 1 on his 3-5 grid. If you stack a couple more head starts, he can rip a page straight from Leonie's book and expedite a sync move. At that point, I can see Fall Morty being well justified for optimal Lysander clears. With all that said, if you play Lysander on type, there isn't a wrong way to approach him. Big Hydro Pump is insane, so you don't have to fret over team building that much. So, 1-5 Lysander has an MGR for Steam Eruption. Flameproof is helpful for Entei and Moltres. Oh, and before I forget, there are legitimate reasons to 6-star EX 1-5 Lysander. Searing Surge 5 is on his base kit, which functions as a sync multiplier, and you can complement that with Rain for a convincing nuke. Personally though, I think Lysander is a lot more fun with 6-star EX supports. Big Hydro Pump easily outscales Lysander's 1-5 nuke. 2-5 increases Lysander's DPS with Burn Synergy 1 and Rain 2. Burn Synergy 1 is effectively free because Lysander wants Searing Surge active at all times. Rain 2 is usually free. As a water type striker, Lysander is best played in Rain, and he has no issues slotting Winona over Dual Strike. But Rain 2 collides with Heatwave modes where Sun is preferable. Scorching Sync 2 also boosts Lysander's nuke. It's a free multiplier given the Searing Surge playstyle. There are also more MGRs and Water Guard. Not the most useful guard, it mostly protects against random surfs. Trainer move and refresh too can be handy to add move freebies on emergencies. Lysander doesn't have much else to grid here anyway. 35 has the full nuke, got a couple sinking tiles and Scorching Sink 9. Scorching Sink overlaps with Searing Surge, so you just have to concern yourself with spreading burn on time. The bad news is its redundancy. Big Hydro Pump is about as effective as Lysander's nuke at deleting sides. Like, if Lysander misses the Sink crit, a 6-star EX boosted Big Hydro Pump would outscale his nuke. I feel the same about Lysander's nuke as I do about Singasud Ethanis. Very strong, but it overlaps with extend range. Adrenaline 1 is cute, don't see the point though. There is also Burn Boost Special 2. It grants a 30% chance of adding a special move on next stack when Lysander attacks a burned enemy. Free PP is always nice. Down here, Lysander earns a much more convincing Heatwave mode. You know how Cynthia fixes a Slash with Critical Strike 9? Well, we've got a Heatwave Super Duper Effective 9 and Heatwave has higher base power than Slash to begin with. Heatwave Lysander is actually legit, it melts on type. Heatwave Scorching Touch 4 grants a 50% chance to burn all enemies when it procs. Still not as consistent as Steam Eruption, but it's a fair game if Lysander has to solo burn. Also, this makes me wonder if Burn Boost Heatwave rolls 3 checks for PP stacks. I couldn't find a showcase to confirm that, but at that point the stage will be long dead anyway. Furious Brain is a free multiplier. The more you buff a special attack, the better DPS you get. With Grand Entry 4, that's a free 20% multiplier, which Lysander can also fix with Trainer Move Ramp Up 2. Lastly, Lysander also has a Trainer Move Brain Gain 9, which adds 1 special move next stack when he uses his Trainer Move. Very handy for Big Hydro Pump PP. Since Lysander is a Pokefair, he also has 4-5 and 5-5 nodes. 4-5 is handy for Gauntlet enthusiasts. I love Sync Freebie. It's a great passive to upkeep gauge if Lysander has to nuke continuously. Piercing Gaze is also good utility despite the fact that Lysander's Trainer Move buffs accuracy. It's handy for Latias and Cresselia. 5-5 has Super Sync 9. It adds a super effective up next whenever Lysander sinks, much like Summer N. But at this level of investment, it's unlikely for a stage to survive Lysander's on-type nuke. There is also this new passive that debuffs attack and special defense when Lysander attacks a burned enemy. Burn Down is ultra overkill in Champion Stadium. Pretty neat for Gauntlet though. It lets Lysander fully counter Latias' Fluid Fortification. If I had a 3-5 Lysander, I would run full-on DPS. PP stacking is just really fun. If you do this with Single Suit Chris, Lysander can deny a ride turn 2 with a big Hydro Pump. That said, Lysander's full nuke is very simple. Given Lysander's self-sufficiency, you could afford Flannery plus Winona and do just fine. If you want to push Heatwave to the limit, you can try something like this. You skip Raging Rain 2 because Sun grants a bigger boost. Lysander can mix and match the 4-5 and 5-5 tiles depending on content. Like, if I were doing Gauntlet, I would go for Sync Freebie with Support Clefable or some garbage. Sync Freebie is just a fantastic passive in long-form content. I have fallen in love with it after doing Gauntlet research. So, yeah, I don't feel like I'm saying anything new here. Most people skipping Lysander have legitimate reasons for it, mostly overlap with previous strikers. But damn, dude, Lysander is a blast to play. I have been destroying stages with 1-5 Lysander. So I believe a new player can get good mileage out of him. Well then, now we're missing Emma and Annabelle. I am not sure if I will have enough time to cover them next week, but If anything, Annabelle is clearly the controversial sim pair between the two, so if I have to defend anybody, it'll be her. She's pretty good. Very technical, but I feel she's underrated. Anyway, thank you for watching, take care, and I hope to see you another time.